September 5th, 2024, Linkin Park had just dropped the motherload of an announcement on their fanbase with information regarding a new tour, album, single, and music video, although perhaps more importantly, brand new band members that in some cases would replace iconic figures from the band's history. The announcement would come just over 7 years after the unfortunate passing of beloved singer Chester Bennington, who some may argue encapsulated the sound of the band and remained the heart and soul of their music throughout their tenure. Due to his tragic passing, the band were forced to find a new singer, with the replacement being Linkin Park's current singer, Emily Armstrong. Although the initial announcement avoided backlash for the most part, the controversy would start flooding in around 24 hours after the initial reveal, just enough time for the internet to get their grubby little mitts on Emily Armstrong, allowing them to dig through her online history. Unfortunately, what they found only worsened the backlash that the band hoped they wouldn't receive. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research in regards to this topic and form your own opinion. Emily Armstrong was originally the lead singer for the more grunge-focused band Dead Sarah, and has been referred to by Linkin Park member Mike Shinoda as a longtime friend. Armstrong unfortunately has an extremely controversial past, with deep links to the cult of Scientology. This may initially seem like a non-issue. It seems Scientology's deep links to celebrity culture has normalized much of their past behavior and unethical practices. Despite this, Scientology definitely isn't normal, with much of its strange practices dating back to its original formation. Scientology is a modern religion created by science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard, based on his self-help book Dianetics. Although Hubbard originally claimed the purpose of the creation of the religion was to allow its followers to achieve godlike powers, in reality it's much more likely that Hubbard started the religion in the pursuit of money, as he had mentioned various times throughout his earlier life that creating a religion would be the most efficient way to become rich. Although the Scientology holy book Dianetics is essentially just a bunch of self-help concepts mashed together, it attracted various people to join the religion, including some incredibly well-known names such as Tom Cruise and John Travolta. Despite the fact I keep using the word religion to describe Scientology, it only presents itself as such to increase perceived reputation and of course avoid tax. In reality, Scientology is more so a cult that aims to utilize the allure of fame and success to isolate people from their family and loved ones, with the end goal being to funnel as much money back into the cult as possible, resulting in an estimated $3 billion in funds and assets taken directly from the members. Although already unethical, the controversy surrounding Emily Armstrong goes deeper than just loose ties to an unethical cult. Emily Armstrong is actually a second-generation Scientologist and was born into the religion, meaning she was likely raised in a way that would essentially brainwash her into being the perfect Scientologist. Scientology forbids any member from reporting fellow members to the police for any reason, and highly encourages members to support each other during any form of legal case. This brings us directly to another controversy that's been linked to Emily Armstrong, her alleged support of Danny Masterson during his SA trial. Apart from being an actor in shows I didn't know existed before researching this video, and of course DJing under the pseudonym DJ Donkey Punch, Masterson is a high-ranking Scientologist and conveniently an evil scumbag. In 2017, 3 women filed SA charges against Masterson, one accuser being Chrissy Carnell, the wife of Mars Volta singer Cedric Bixler-Zavala, who are both former Scientology members. These accusations led to a 3-year investigation which saw alleged continuous interference from Scientologist members, with victims, prosecutors and investigators being allegedly stalked, harassed and occasionally attacked by individuals linked to the cult. One of these alleged members is Linkin Park's new singer Emily Armstrong. According to accusations from victim Chrissy Carnell and husband Cedric Bixler-Zavala, Armstrong allegedly wrote a letter defending Danny Masterson's character and provided it to the courtroom. She was also allegedly actively part of a group of Scientologists that attempted to intimidate and harass victims during the trial. Armstrong decided to respond to these accusations via her Instagram story, although instead of breaking down and explaining each of the accusations piece by piece, she avoided the vast majority and focused primarily on her accused defense of Danny Masterson. She responded saying she initially misjudged Masterson and changed her mind on the situation after hearing the evidence during the trial. This Instagram story suspiciously avoids any mention of Scientology, avoids the intimidation accusation, and completely avoids any form of apology or apologetic statement. There are obviously various potential reasons as to why Emily Armstrong avoided the mention of Scientology, the first being the theory that she has recently left the cult and is too scared to criticize them in any way due to their reputation of harassing any ex-member. Or the second option, the possibility of Armstrong still actively being a part of Scientology. Clearly, it's impossible to know for sure, and it's highly unlikely any information regarding this will ever be released, although a brief exploration into Armstrong's connection with the religion may allow you to come to your own conclusion alongside your own research on the topic. Emily Armstrong was born into Scientology, with her parents being high-ranking members of the Sea Org. Specifically, her mother was the editor of the Freedom magazine, which is a Scientology propaganda tool. According to the Scientology website, which is quite possibly the least reliable source when trying to break down anything Scientology related, the Sea Org is a section of Scientology composed of the most dedicated individuals within the religion. The name Sea Org stems from the early days of the religion, when Hubbard was running and overseeing the religion from various ships. This was essentially a way for Hubbard and Scientology to avoid any investigation from any form of government body in regards to tax evasion. This led to Hubbard wearing a captain's outfit and inspiring the eventual Sea Org, which still sees members wearing naval uniforms despite doing most of their business on land. Members of the Sea Org have various strict rules they are forced to follow, some of which directly involve children and therefore potentially Emily Armstrong. If members of the Sea Org wish to have children, they are often forced to move to lower positions within the church. Between the years of 1970 to some point in the early 2000s, if a Sea Org member were to have a child, that child is immediately sent to Cadet Org, which is essentially the child section of the Sea Org. Emily Armstrong was said to be involved in the Cadet Org during her childhood. Cadet Org allegedly involves daily physical labor from the hours of 6 AM to 9 PM, with little physical or emotional contact with their parents. The conditions within Cadet Org are also said to be dirty and unsafe, with the section receiving little funding from the church, resulting in a lack of essential resources such as clothing, toilet paper and food. There have also been reports of the Cadet Org essentially being a dumping ground for adult Sea Org members who may have failed a task or had unsatisfactory performances, resulting in potentially dangerous adults sharing spaces with children. Much of the education within Cadet Org directly follows the teachings of Hubbard and allegedly manipulates children into disregarding any outside criticism of the church, which may explain why she originally defended Masterson, potentially seeing the accusations as a conspiracy against the church. This alleged mistreatment of children within the Cadet Org actually links directly to L. Ron Hubbard and his teachings. He despised it when people referred to children as cute or innocent and preferred to view them as valuable assets that would eventually become useful members of Scientology. This comes from Hubbard's belief in ancient and immortal thetans, which is essentially a soul that sits within every child, allowing them to carry out the same responsibilities as adults. Many sources report that Emily Armstrong was actively a part of Cadet Org during her childhood, with her parents still allegedly being higher-up members of the Sea Org, although it's difficult to confirm anything due to Scientology's inherent secrecy. What we do know is Armstrong attended Masterson's preliminary hearing to show support, and it seems allegedly she had some sort of friendship with Masterson throughout the various accusations. I was able to find Armstrong liking Instagram posts by Masterson as late as 2022, 2 years after the trial started. Also, Masterson's band Grandpa vs. Prowler opened for Dead Sarah multiple times throughout 2017, suggesting Armstrong was fully aware of the accusations from the very beginning. Armstrong's response or lack of response to the vast majority of accusations only fanned the flames, especially in regards to original accusers Chrissy Carnell and Cedric Bixler Zavala, who went on to accuse Armstrong's parents of orchestrating attacks against their family, specifically their dogs, facilitating in the stalking of Masterson's various victims, actively being a part of human trafficking, and being members of a section of Scientology that organized various attacks against various people, although none of this is confirmed and remains alleged. They also accused Armstrong of avoiding the mention of Scientology, not because she was scared, but because she is still an active part of the cult. The remaining members of Linkin Park have remained completely silent on the topic of Scientology or Armstrong's alleged past involvement with Masterson, and instead have addressed the controversy by attempting to present it as fans simply complaining about a singer attempting to replace or live up to Chester Bennington's legacy. Although there are definitely people with this opinion, I feel the vast majority of criticism stems from Bennington's spot within the band and therefore legacy that focused heavily on mental health awareness, being replaced by a singer who was previously and allegedly may still be within a group that actively ruins people's lives by preying on mental health and vulnerability. Scientology is completely opposed to even the idea of mental health. They allegedly actively shame victims of crimes as disgusting as child SA within the church and ban the usage of modern psychology or mental health therapy for any member within the church. Scientology is antithetical to anything positive within mental health awareness. This is a sentiment shared by the individuals closest to Bennington, including his son and mother. Chester's son Jamie would respond to the inclusion of Armstrong by accusing Mike Shinoda of hiring an old friend to the band, despite being fully aware of her involvement within Scientology and defense of Masterson, therefore attempting to erase Bennington's life and legacy. Although Jamie disagrees with much of the band's recent decision making and finds it disrespectful, he had still hoped to attend one of the concerts in hopes to find closure, which is understandable as he is clearly still grieving. He attempted to message each of the members of the band and Linkin Park team to receive tickets. He was ignored by each and every member and in some cases blocked, like in the case of Mike Shinoda. This disrespect sentiment is also shared by Bennington's mother, who has recently spoke to Rolling Stone regarding the controversy. She claimed that the band members promised her that they would let her know before doing anything with Linkin Park moving forward. This promise was allegedly broken, with Bennington's mother finding out about Armstrong's inclusion via Google, which left her heartbroken. Regardless of your opinion on Linkin Park and their recent decisions, it's hard to dispute the fact that their silence on the situation has only worsened their public perception, although it's difficult to define why exactly they may be remaining silent due to the nature of Scientology. There is a possibility that the band are remaining silent in hopes to sweep the controversy under the rug, so people will forget before the new tour and album, although there is an equal possibility that the involvement of Scientology within the controversy has forced the band into silence, either due to Armstrong's alleged current involvement or the potential harassment campaign that may come as a result of her leaving and immediately disavowing the cult. This whole situation brings about a weird moral dilemma that's difficult to traverse. If Armstrong simply made a mistake supporting Masterson due to a lifetime of being manipulated within the cult, she is 100% allowed forgiveness and the ability to continue with her career. Although if she is still a part of Scientology, it's difficult to morally support the band financially, as much of the money may be directly funneled into the cult. It's almost impossible to know whether Armstrong is still involved with the church or not. Even if she did leave the church in the past, Scientology has a huge track record of manipulating and abusing ex-members until they rejoin. Their lack of response has only resulted in more accusations being thrown about, including the idea that Mike Shinoda himself is actively a Scientologist. And although there is zero evidence suggesting this, Emily Armstrong's history and alleged current involvement in Scientology can give us clues to Linkin Park's ties with the cult. If Armstrong is in fact a Scientologist, it in turn means that Shinoda and Linkin Park as a whole are at the very least okay with the idea of Scientology. Anybody that is opposed to anything Scientology related has their communication completely blocked with any member of the cult. The fact that Shinoda himself has mentioned how him and Emily have been friends for years means regardless of Armstrong's current involvement, it's highly likely they became friends whilst Armstrong was confirmed as a Scientologist. meaning Shinoda is considered safe and not a threat by the church. If it is the case that Armstrong is still a Scientologist, with there being no evidence that she actually left the cult and only things that point towards her still being a part of it, it's a huge ethical problem and something that Linkin Park fans should 100% take into account. Armstrong would essentially become Scientology's biggest success story for decades, an individual born into the cult that is now the lead singer for one of the biggest rock bands of all time. That's only going to attract more people or motivate people already within Scientology. This cult in question continuously partakes in some of the most unethical practices imaginable, most of which I will not go into because I think I've already said enough to receive a visit from this motherfucker, so do your own research. This is a difficult topic to cover overall, as regardless of Armstrong's status within Scientology, it isn't really her fault. It's highly likely she's been emotionally abused and brainwashed her entire life. You may remember earlier in the video I mentioned her mother being the editor of the Freedom magazine. This means Emily Armstrong's mother isn't a victim of manipulation and propaganda, she is allegedly the writer of the manipulation and propaganda. She works directly with the leader of Scientology, David Miscavige. If this is all true, Emily Armstrong is deeper within the cult than we could ever imagine, and makes this whole reunion more unethical than just replacing a beloved singer. In regards to the disrespect towards Chester Bennington, I personally believe the remaining band members should be allowed to do whatever they want with the project. It's just hard to support the inclusion when the people closest to Bennington, i.e. his son and mother, are being directly disrespected and ignored by the band members. It's also fair to say Armstrong's connection with Scientology completely contradicts the efforts Bennington put into mental health awareness throughout his life. It's likely this controversy will never see a concrete ending or explanation, not only due to the secrecy of Scientology, but due to the fact that the news cycle flows so quickly that this topic is already out of relevancy and people are talking about Dave Grohl swinging his cock about or something. Also, I'm definitely super late to this topic because I was waiting for all the information to come out, not just because I was attending an extremely British holiday for the majority of this month.